everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I'm going to assemble some MDF bees. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's brand new MDF bees, the standing and the hanging ones. There we go. And I'll be using the MDF Standing Base die, the Gnome Friends Honey Bee dies, the Bee Faces stamp set, the Gnome Dies Bee Keeper Add Ons, and the Gnome Dies Valentine Add Ons. So first I go ahead and I cut out these base layers out of American Crafts black cardstock. And I'm using this Artis or Artis glue from scrapbook.com, sorry. And you want to cover that paper well and then weight it down and let it, really stick well to that MDF base. So I'm just going to get that lined up and then I will weight it down with an acrylic block once I do that. There we go. So this one's facing towards the right. And then this guy is a hanging one facing towards the right. You notice that I colored that little piece just because I lost the little triangle of black that was on that background piece near the wings. I don't want the wood to show through. So if the paper sticks in there, I don't have to do that. But if the paper falls out and I lose it, then I'll use a marker and color in behind it, just so it's not so obvious. Because these are the things that keep me up at night. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to glue the next one. This one is facing the other direction. And like I said, just adding glue, being generous. And then adding that to that MDF piece again. Now all my die cutting today was done on my Gemini. Oh boy, I'm having a hard time doing this voiceover. No, my die cutting was all done with my Anna Griffin Empress machine. I'm working on a Stampin' Up! Pad. All the things. You saw me color that little MDF piece again underneath where that little triangle came out by the wings. Normally, when you're making them, you see through that spot. But I don't want that on this MDF piece. So there we go. Once we are all together, I do weight it down again. And now this is the one that stands up straight. Or I guess the head-on hanging one. And this time I'm going to add the glue to the MDF base. It doesn't really matter. Do whatever's easier for you. I'm going to add that piece on. And then once it's straight, I will weight it down as well. So I really loved these new bees from Jaded Blossom. I just think that they really are the cutest darn thing that I've ever seen. Just adorable. Okay, so next here we're going to put together this bee. So first I'm adding the wing, which is Paper Tray Ink white cardstock. Then I'm going to add the body here. That's American Crafts yellow cardstock. You could probably skip this part if you wanted to, just because there are two pieces that layer on top, although I do like the dimension that the layers give. So I'm going to add these next two pieces on. And this is really simple to put together, I think. Now, I already pre-stamped the little faces and let them dry off to the side. So, I'll have my faces already on there. And you saw me do that on the assembly video anyway, so it's not like a huge deal. So there we go. Now I'm going to add on this layer. So I've got two layers for the head, and I did that because they overlap that thorax area on the bee. And I didn't want it to have a bump there. I wanted it to be nice and flat. So that's why I added a little bit more thickness to my little bee head here. Okay, so once we get the little bee head all lined up, I'm going to stick that down onto my base. But first I'm going to add some EK Success chalks to the cheeks. I know this isn't available anymore, sorry guys, but it's just my favorite thing to do. There we go. And then I'm going to add on the die cuts for this one. So this one is going to have the die cut eyes. And then all the other ones I make will be the stamped faces. So you'll see where these line up. You just line them up according to the stitch lines on the little bee head. So the eyes are Paper Tray Ink white cardstock, and then the mouth is American Crafts black cardstock along with the pupils. And I'm just using Barely Art glue now to stick these guys down. Super cute. I love the highlights on these bee eyes. Just lots of fun. And now we have a super cute bee head to add, right? Just getting off that, any of those little wispy pieces of paper. Okay, so I'm going to stick this little bee head down using some Barely Art glue. You know, you can use whatever glue you like. A lot of the glues out there, they all work really well. So just choose your favorite and go with that. There we are. Now I'm going to add my little antenna on. These were cut from American Crafts black cardstock as well. And I'm just going to add those in place. There we go. And super cute stuff, right? This bee is just adorable. Okay, so next we're going to add the stripes. And so I always start with a little bum piece. You know, line that up on the edge. And then you'll see where the other pieces go because there are stitching lines. And there you have it. And like I said, I do weight it down with an acrylic block. Okay, so for this guy, I'm going to start again with the wing and then the body. So these are really easy to put together. So let's talk other things. So what do you guys think of this latest release? When I saw this release, I just thought, oh, it is just the cutest thing. The bees just take it up another level, and I love a bee on a card. And the sentiments are just amazing. So I'm going to have a lot of fun making bee stuff, I think, for the next little bit. I am just loving them. Yeah, so Jaded Blossom also has an awesome release coming out for March that I have seen. So that's another amazing one. You know, like I said, I'm never disappointed with their releases. But March, I've been waiting for March for a while, so I'm very happy about it. And I can't wait to play with that one as well. Okay, so I am adding the stripes on this little guy again. So like I said, this is like super easy. Now, I don't know if you know this. I say it a few times in my videos, but I am Canadian. I live in Canada, and we got the biggest dump of snow yesterday. It was crazy. We were out there snow blowing and shoveling. It was just insane. Okay, so now I am adding a BG10 Copic marker to the wings, just for some definition. And I'm going to use diamond stickles, and I'm just going to tap them onto the wings just for fun. Because why not, right? And I've had these diamond stickles forever, and they still work. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to cover up one of these MDF bases. There we go. So these are for the Standing Bees. So I covered it up with this Echo Park Be Happy paper for one of them. There we go. And then the other two, I'm going to use Paper Tray Ink Pure Poppy cardstock in a minute here. Oh, there we go. So there's one of my faces. Isn't that cute? So I do use BG15 to color in all the eyes, and a Sakura white Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 to add the white details. The nose is colored with YR24. And if there's a tongue, it's colored in RV29. So I do use Versafine Clair Nocturne ink to do all my face stamping. Remember that Copic markers are not compatible with that, so you want to be really careful. Look at that little face. Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to add in the blue details again. And I just think that it's just the cutest darn thing, eh? Isn't that sweet? And I'm going to add the stickles on this guy as well. And you don't have to put a lot, and they dry really fast if you put like just a little bit. There we go. So now this guy, I'm going to add on his little antenna, cut from American Crafts black cardstock. Okay, so we're adding on these little antenna, cut from American Crafts as well. And there she is. Isn't it adorable? I just love these things. Okay, so I'm going to put together this other hanging one. This one is facing in the other direction. There we go. And adding on my little body again. Like I said, all cut from the same things. There we go. Now also, you know, I don't know, I don't ask this very much, but if there's a video that you're looking at me making, you know, you can comment underneath the video and let me know. You know, sometimes it's good to get suggestions if there's something you're looking for. There we go. So now I've got my last little part of the body there, and I do weight it down. Now I am going to put together the rest of this thing and adding on his little head. Like I said, just giving it another layer just so it doesn't get wrinkly over that little thorax part of the bee. There we go. And I'm going to add this adorable face with some Barely Art glue again. And isn't that the cutest thing? Oh, I just love these faces. I just think they're just the sweetest. You know, you can use them on gift bags. You could use these items on tiered trays. You know, decorating your mantle. You know, put them on your kitchen window, you know, for the different seasons. You can have these bees holding any of the different, you know, items that the gnomes can hold. And it would be super cute. There we go. So now I'm going to put together this is the vertical one. And with this guy, you want to start with the 2 wings again. Paper Trank white cardstock. And just trying to make sure it's lined up right. Sometimes that's easier when you pick it up. And we're going to add on the body again. There we go. And the little bottom part of the body, and then the thorax next. So I know this is kind of, you know, repetitive, but I thought I would leave it in here for you guys. And that way you have it. You can always fast forward the video if you want to move on to something different. There we go. So I'm going to add on this little headpiece here. And that was cut from a different black cardstock, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to show. I can't even remember what it was, maybe Basil Dot or something like that. I had a scrap of it on my desk, so I thought I might as well use it up. So I'm going to add on this one's little face and another cutie, right? And like I said, you can dress these guys up and use them on anything you'd like. I still haven't decorated for Valentine's Day. I don't know if you guys decorate for Valentine's Day, but I usually do. You know, but I was kind of busy getting this release going, and I'll probably do that at some point today. There we go. I do have a few tiered trays, and I like to decorate a few little items with Valentine's Day stuff just for fun. Even though I have no kids in my house anymore, right? So I am adding on the stripes on this guy. Now, I don't know, I've said this numerous times, but you know, my kids are like 30 now. So my daughter's a doctor in Edmonton, Alberta. Now I'm pulling out that BG10 marker. And my son is a year younger, and he is an RN at our local hospital in adult mental health. So both medical people, and I'm a retired nurse myself. There we go. So as a result, nothing grosses us out. You can discuss anything at the table. So now I am lining up all of these little stripes, and you can see where they go according to the stitching lines. There we are. And I'm using my little nail sponge to fix the edges. Pulling out that BG10 again to add some highlights to these wings, outline them a bit. And then the diamond stickles again that I'm going to tap on. And remember, if you don't put too much, they glue really fast. Okay, so there we go, adding on the stickles. I have to say these stickles have been in my stash forever and they still work. So I don't know, that's yay for stickles, right? Okay, so I believe this is my last guy. So I'm going to add on his wing first. And add on his little body next with that Barely Art glue. So like I said, you could use whatever glue that you like to use. They're all very similar. Here we are. Although I do find that when you're using glue, as long as you weight it down, you're usually golden. It's when you don't weight things down that sometimes I can get that bubbly look, and I don't like that. So that's why I always weight things down. Okay, so I'm adding on this little circle. That's the little thorax area again. And like I said, it adds a little bit of dimension, which is nice. I'm going to add on the little head just for, a little bit more dimension. You'll see that I cut the little hair tuft off just because I wanted the dimension on the face. I don't really care about the hair tuft. There we go. And then I am going to add the little face. This one's like one with his eyes closed, which is kind of cute. Isn't that adorable? And I'm going to add on the little antenna. The thing I do like about the Barely Art glue is that fine needle tip. It's really handy when you're putting together small items. When you're putting together the gnome video, like the gnome things from Jaded Blossom with little pieces. That's your friend, I think. The little needle tip. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. Okay, so now I'm going to add in my stripes. So you'll see there's 3 sets of stripes, one for the vertical bee, and then there's one for the bee facing right and one for the bee facing left. So you could see that the small part of the little bee stripe is, near the back, right? On the ones that are facing one way or the other. There we go, adding on my little stickles. Again, whoops. And there you have him. Isn't he cute? Just adorable. And then there is his little stand. Oops, that one's not for him right now. So I'm just going to add on some little highlights and freckles on this guy. There we go. Isn't that cute? So now I'm going to make 2 with pure poppy tops on those MDF stands. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to decorate a few of them for Valentine's Day. So I figured I might as well use the red, right? So I am just going to, and you'll see that I'm using the Artist glue, or Artiste, I'm not sure how to say that, from scrapbook.com. There we go. And there they are. So you see that I have each one in their little stand, right? Isn't that cute? And now I'm going to add on these little images. So first I have the little honey pot with hands. The hands were cut from Smoky Shadow paper tray ink cardstock. It's like a dark gray. And the little honey pot was cut from Paper Tray Inks Honey Nut cardstock, American Crafts black cardstock, American Crafts yellow cardstock, and Pure Poppy cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. This one is the same thing, Pure Poppy cardstock from Paper Tray Ink and white cardstock. You'll see that I'm just trimming off the little hands. These are from the Gnome Dies Valentine Add Ons. because I'm going to be adding on the little bee hands, and they're smaller than the gnome hands, right? And you'll see that I did add some dimension with some glossy accents on that little heart for some shine, right? There we go. I'm going to pop that up with some black dimensionals from Stampin' Up. And isn't that sweet? Look at that. Perfect for Valentine's Day, right? And look at it, can stand up. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with this little heart. That was cut from paper tray ink, pure poppy cardstock, my favorite red. I'm going to add on the little hands where I want them. There we go. And then I will pop up that heart with some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals again in black. There. And there we go. And isn't that sweet? There's my little bee, and then there's his little, he's holding a heart. Okay, so now I've got some twine. This is, I think it's my Mind's Eye twine. This is black and white. And I'm just, you know, cut a little bit of it, knot it up, feed it through so I can hang this little guy up. You can even decorate these guys for Christmas if you wanted to and make Christmas ornaments, right? So I'm going to feed that one through the hole there and then just run it through, and then there you go. And then I'm also using this yellow twine from my Mind's Eye, and I'll do the other two with the yellow twine, because why not, right? And just trimming off that twine to a good length. And then I'll do the same thing, knot the end. Whoops. There we go. I trim off that tail a bit. And then I will feed that through the hole. Whoops, there we go. Isn't that cute? I just love these faces. They are the cutest thing. And I think they really hit it out of the park with this release. Just, it's the cutest thing you'll ever see. So there we go. And isn't that cute? Oh my goodness. So I'm going to add some arms on these guys. This guy is going to get some arms. These are paper tray ink smoky shadow cardstock. And then I'm going to add a shape sprinkle. Oh no, this one is going to be a little wing from the Bee Keeper Add Ons, but I cut it out of pure poppy, so it kind of looks like a wonky heart. So he's going to be holding a little heart. Isn't that cute? The little bee's wings work for hearts too. Super fun. Okay, and then this guy, I'm going to add on some arms too. And then I'm going to put the back arm on the back of this little bee. There we go. Isn't that cute? I just think he's adorable, or she's adorable, this one, right? And I'm going to put legs on this one because why not, right? I'll put one on the front and one on the back. Now you don't have to if you don't want to, but I thought why not, right? We'll make one look a little bit different than the others. There we are. And isn't that cute? Oh my goodness, just adorable stuff. And I'm pulling out shape sprinkles. I think these ones are called candy hearts. And I'm going to have this guy holding a candy heart, because why not? That's from Doodlebug. So I'm adding on my little arms. And then I'm going to have him holding a little candy heart. Isn't that cute? Oops, I got to get that glued down though. And there we go. So I'm using the tree swing die for the flowers. And I'm using the Easter or the spring add-ons for the street lamp die for the flowers. And I'm just going to layer up 2 flowers cut from Candy Stripe and Sprinkles from Doodlebug. And I'm just going to layer those up. So this one can have a little flower in her hair. And then I'm going to use these honeybee shape sprinkles. I'm going to grab one of these black centers and just add a black center to this flower. Isn't that the sweetest thing? So saying thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team, the Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on these amazing products. And thanks as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. We will see you again soon. Bye, everybody.